To improve your financial destiny? What if you could upgrade your money situation even if it's currently pretty good? Want to trade your cash flow problems for a solid plan that's worked for decades? If you've ever felt like there's got to be a better way, this show will reveal the goods. Welcome to Inner Vision. I'm your host, Nita Vallens, and with me today is George Kappas, who is a licensed marriage family therapist and director of behavioral science centers and its college, the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, which is actually in Tarzana Reseda area of the San Fernando Valley. So you're like neighbors.
Yes, we're right here.
That's so awesome. So, and I'm an MFT and a hypnotherapist too, so we're going to have fun today. And so what we're going to talk about is whatever is bothering you. It can be relationship, it can be money, it can be, my life just isn't working. We're going to talk about all of that today. So you have a book called Success is Not an Accident, and it involves something you're teaching us today called the mental bank concept. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, thank you, Nita. Thanks for having me on, and to it's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you.
And the backdrop for all of our work is called Hypnosis Motivation Institute, or HMI. HMI is the country's first nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy, and what we do is we specialize in study and the application of subconscious behavior, how our subconscious mind influences our lives. In all areas of our lives, be it our financial success, our relationship success, goals. And we feel that people don't fully understand the role that their subconscious mind plays in their lives. And that's what the mental bank is about. And while it has a money focus, you can use the mental bank as a tool for any goal, weight loss, relationships. It can be steered in any direction. And so it's a free course that we offer, and we're here happy to tell you a little bit about it. But I really would like to start just to help you and everyone understand how in the dark we are about our subconscious minds and the influence it has.
I'm so glad you started with that, because it's actually, you're going to tell us the percentage of us that's conscious and the percentage of us that's actually subconscious or unconscious?
Yes.
And distinguish all those?
Yes. And I think there's some really great research that illustrates this and illuminates this idea very clearly. And it can be an awakening for people because, we're all under the impression that we make all of our decisions consciously, that we're in control, that we have 100% free will. And there's a lot of research that would make us question that. And, the first example is driving a car. And I drove here today. You drove here today.
Yes.
But if you think back, Nita, to the very first day, if you can remember the person who taught you how to drive a car and the first day, the first hour, what a task that was.
Oh, huge.
Right?
I was a nervous wreck.
Because you had to learn to control your foot in a new and novel way. You had to press the pedal just so, and the gas was different than the brake. And God forbid you had one of those stick shift things, because then you got the left foot in, the right foot out, and the little movement, and then you got a mirror on the one side, a mirror on the other side, and your hands have to be 10 and 2. And at the time, the first hour, it's like, how does anyone do this? It's too much to keep track of, right? Yet you drove here today, I drove here today, and never once, I bet, did you think about your hands or your feet or the mirrors. You were probably listening to the radio. You were probably maybe talking on the phone. If you were on the 405 freeway, you may have been shooting at people just to get here in time.
How'd
right?
you know?
I knew that. And so how did this become automatic? Right? It became automatic through years of repetition. And that it's not just driving that's become automatic for you, for me, for everyone. It's so many things. It's the way we walk. It's the look on our face. It's our posture. It's how we think about money. It's how we think about women, men, success, relationships. All of these things have become automatic. And behavioral experts have estimated that 88% of our day we're engaged in automatic behaviors, things we've done so many times before we stopped thinking about them decades ago.
So all of this is, if we bring in a teeny bit of neuroscience into it, so the frontal lobes in the front of the forehead, literally, where the part in the front part of the brain where we process new information. So all this information you're talking about is all moved to the back of the brain where it's la la la, and we don't ever have to think about it ever.
We like to call it a subconscious mind. It's just below the level of our awareness. And so researchers, took this idea and they thought, well, how much, okay, it controls driving and walking and a lot of things, but what else does it control? And that's where it starts to get interesting. There are some social psychologists in the Netherlands who ran a great study that people can Google, and it's called How to Win at Trivial Pursuit. And what they did is they took a group of people and they divided them into two, independent groups and randomly selected. And what they did is they had one group just imagine a professor, a college professor, and list 5 traits that a college professor would have. And they had them do this for 5 minutes. Just imagine a college professor. The other group, they had them imagine a soccer hooligan, which in the Netherlands is sort of a rowdy, blue-collar, drunken, rebel rouser. So each one imagined these things for 5 minutes and then were given Trivial Pursuit questions. And the group that imagined a professor did statistically significantly better than the group that imagined a hooligan. Now, that's 5 minutes imagining something, and you do better at Trivial Pursuit.
That's incredible.
It blew a lot of people away. And they go,
Yes.
How is that possible that just 5 minutes would make a difference on test scores like that? And then the question came up, well, what else is it controlling, And so another great subject was a study. This was done by John Barge at Yale, and he took a group of people and again divided them into 2 categories, and he gave them scrambled word sentences to put together. So they had 5 words. They had to reorganize them into sentences. And one group, he gave them words that would trigger unconscious associations, and he didn't let them know this. And so in their scrambled sentences, they had words like gray, wrinkled, Florida, bingo, and wise.
Ooh.
The other group had neutral words. So they had to work on these scrambled sentences for a short period of time, and then they turned in their stuff to the researchers, and they were thanked, and then they were let go. But what they didn't know is that the real study was how long would it take them to walk from the experimental room to the elevator. And again, the group that were given loaded words for elderly walked slower to the elevator than the groups that were given neutral words.
That's incredible because it means that quickly they got programmed and it went right into their subconscious mind.
Well, what it means is that they already had beliefs and opinions
about those words
or
Wow.
stereotypes. And what we just did is trigger them. And it had an immediate effect on their behavior. Now, the part we want to add to that is then they did a post-research interview. None of them had any awareness that they had been triggered. None of them had any awareness that those words were the point of the study. So they didn't attribute the fact that they walk slower to anything that happened in the experiment. And
they probably didn't even know they walked slower.
They didn't know they walked slower. So that's it. We're engaging, we're being triggered, and we're having this effect on our behavior, and we have zero awareness of how much it is. So they said, okay, well, that's great. You can affect someone's test scores. You can affect the way they walk. But what about our free will? What about our conscious decisions? Are those being affected subconsciously? And are we aware of it? So another John Barge experiment, they, again, scrambled words, and this time they divided them into 3 groups. And one group were given rude words. So in theirs was words that were associated with rudeness. Another group was given words that were associated with politeness. And a third group was given neutral words. And they were given a number of sentences to work on for about 15 minutes or so. And they said, as soon as you're done, go take your results to the researcher, give it to her so she can put you on to the next task. It's very important that you do this right away. And so they're doing their words, and what they didn't know was that the researcher was purposely engaged in a private conversation and was ignoring them. So when they came up with their results and they wanted to immediately notify her, she was engaged with a friend talking about something unrelated and wasn't paying attention to them. And what they studied was how many of them would interrupt the researcher's private conversation. And the group that were given rude words, 63% made the decision to interrupt her, while the group that were given polite words, only 17% decided to interrupt her, and the group with the neutral words was 33%. So then they do a post-research interview, and none of them had any idea that that the words affected them in that way, or how they came. They had a different idea about how they came to the decision to interrupt. So it proven that it affects our behavior, our performance, but also our decision-making process. And we have no awareness of how these associations, again, we already have the associations. They didn't give us the associations. Those were implanted. They just merely tickled them, if you will, or activated those stereotypes.
And those stereotypes then must come from childhood and must come from
our lifelong learning experiences.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And influenced by the culture we're in, the society we're in, the family we're in, etc.
Yes, and we call it a life script, if you will. It's another term for how this whole collection of beliefs, opinions, stereotypes. And so the question then arises, well, how many decisions are we making in a day, and how does that affect us, at the end of the day, the month, the year, the decade? And we're making decisions on our diet. A
lot, probably
3-4 times a day. We're making decisions about how we respond to our partners and our relationships. We're making decisions about our performance at work and our finances and all of these things. And we have no awareness that our past, our associations, our opinions that we have below the level of our awareness are greatly influencing these decisions.
That's incredible. With me today is George Kappas, who is from HMI Hypnosis Motivation Institute, which is an actual nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy.
Yes.
Very powerful.
Thank you.
So let's sidebar for a minute, George, and let's talk about you a little bit and get to know you. Like, how did you get interested in this? Did you just decide when you were young, well, I'm going to be a therapist and I'm interested in hypnosis, or was there something else going on?
Well, I'm just a perfect example of someone who thinks they're making decisions and has absolutely no free will at all. My father and uncle started the college in the 60s, so I literally grew up there as a kid. I did my first lecture there in hypnosis demonstration when I was 9 years old. And I grew up in a family of counselors, and every night at dinner, that's what they were so passionate about: hypnosis, about the subconscious, about the way they were able to affect people with hypnosis, and the clients that they had and the stories that they had. And this was, my whole life. Every dinner, that's what we heard and talked about. So I was, couldn't wait to get into the family business and get involved. And I did so at an early age. So I've been there like 37 years. And so it's been a family-started, college. We're a nonprofit 501c3 organization, and we became the first accredited college hypnotherapy in 1987.
That's incredible. That's really cutting edge, especially considering how long you've been around, and that the amount of people that have been trained, the amount of people that you must be helping through the college. It's really exciting stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, it is. And we've been around a long time. We have, thousands of graduates, and then we have a clinic as well where our graduates work with people privately, and we've estimated that we've worked with over 250,000 individuals one-on-one using hypnosis to help them gain access to this part of their mind where these opinions are, where these beliefs are, where these presuppositions. And by just modifying them, again, if you can imagine that just imagining a professor makes you better at Trivial Pursuit, what if you were put into a highly suggestible state by a professional that's what they were trained and did an internship to perform, and you just made some enhancements, some modifications to some beliefs that you probably weren't even aware were there? How would that affect your decision-making process? How would that affect your behavior? And what we're really gunning for is that automatic behavior, the things you do before you even think about it, or the decisions you make that you don't realize are influenced by these stereotypes or beliefs.
Well, you have a lot of examples in the book, Success is Not an Accident, where you talk about people that come in and it's kind of like back to the conversation we're having a second ago about the subconscious, because they have goals and ideas about, well, I want to make this much money, or I want to do this in my life. How come all my relationships fail? And what you're saying right now makes so much sense, because the unconscious beliefs that are going on beneath the surface are running the show. So it doesn't matter how many goals you write down or how many positive thoughts you have, what's going to be the result of that if the subconscious can always trump the conscious thoughts.
Right. It's 12% fighting 88%, and you can imagine who wins the majority of the time. Yeah, we talk about the first step in changing these things is understanding the most powerful force in human behavior. And it's a concept called homeostasis, the innate drive, the subconscious drive to stay the same. that ultimately your subconscious is a binary system like a computer. It knows yes or no. And in this case, it just has knowns and unknowns. And knowns are things that are your beliefs, things you've identified and opinions you have. Unknowns are anything that's not within your belief set. So while you may desire $1 million, if known for you is $24,000, that's the comfortable spot. That's homeostasis. And if you move outside of that zone, you start to earn more money, then you will actually subconsciously sabotage yourself without any awareness you're doing it, because your subconscious is more comfortable within its knowns. So there's good news and bad news to homeostasis. If you rise too high, it sabotages you to bring you down. That would be the bad news. The good news is if you fall too low, that too is an unknown. And then you get motivated and activated to get back into your comfort zone. So it's not all bad, but it is bad as if we desire something consciously that is in conflict with our unconscious or subconscious beliefs or knowns.
So then the idea of the mental bank is to go into target, so to speak, the subconscious.
Yes. Yes, we've created a tool, if you will, that allows people to take advantage. Now, we've been hypnotherapists for a number of years. We work with people privately. We use our skill set to put them in a highly suggestible state, which gives us access to these beliefs. But hypnosis is not unique to HMI. Hypnosis happens every day for every person. You cannot go through a 24-hour period without entering the hypnotic state at least once, if not several times a day.
Even while driving, don't we call that highway hypnosis?
Driving, movies, daydreaming. But the one you can always count on is before you go to sleep. That is impossible to transition from wakefulness to sleep without entering to this state that we label the hypnotic state. So hypnosis is a natural transition into sleep. So the mental bank is something you do 5 minutes before you go, or 30 minutes before you go to bed. It takes 5 minutes to do. And it puts you in the driver's seat to start triggering and changing some of these associations that you have that may be holding you back. It's a fairly ingenious process. It's really easy to do. It takes, again, no more than 5 minutes a night. And it just starts programming you for these different belief sets to start taking hold. And where the changes take place, the fascinating part is not while you're doing it, but we're dropping in information that's going to then slip into your dreams state. And in your precognitive dreams, it starts changing what you're anticipating for the future.
Well, that's exciting because you're writing it, which is going into a different part of the brain. Right.
Your autonomic nervous system, your ideomotor response, we call it, autonomic nervous system. So it uses a combination of factors that we call a synergistic combination that gets it past your conscious defenses and into your subconscious mind. We tell people, you already have made up your mind about how much money you're going to make this year, next year, and the year after that subconsciously. That's your mind is set on that. That's what's comfortable to that. And if you start to move in a different direction, it'll actually sabotage your behavior quietly, silently, to get you back to that comfort zone. So what we want to do is change that projection, that anticipation of the future, because our minds are constantly looking at what should I expect? And what do they base that expectation on? Your entire past. It looks at your entire history every single night while you're asleep and says, what do I anticipate for tomorrow, next month, or the year based on my history? Do you know that in a horse race, that the track can predict the winner of the horse race with 70% accuracy?
No, I never knew this.
How do they do that? Is it psychic? Is it magic? No, they have an advantage. You are not allowed to be a horse in the race without your entire life history in their database, their computer database. Who your parents are, what their history was, the first race you ran, every race you ran, how much weight you carried, what class you're in, every history for every horse. And by having access to that entire history, they're able to then, statistically with a computer, predict the winner. Our minds do the same thing every single night. It knows our entire history. It knows every bad thought we've ever had. It knows everybody we've ever kissed. It knows everything, every wish we've ever wanted for. And it computes it all and then takes in today's information and says, based on what happened to me today, where do I anticipate myself being next month, next week? And it does that every single night. And the mental bank looks to take advantage of that process.
That is such a great analogy. I love that. With me today is George Kappas from HMI, Hypnosis Motivation Institute. So how do we get started? What do we do first? Half hour before bed?
Yeah, within that half-hour period. Now, we do have a free course, and you can access it online. It's a 2-hour streaming video. You can access it, and it's at mymentalbank.com. It's just a shortcut to it. It's on YouTube, mymentalbank.com. Or you can go to YouTube and look up George Kappas, the mental bank concept, and it's free. There's no login, and it'll take you through the whole course and walk you through step by step how to do it. But we use a variety of ingredients, and ideomotor response is one. We use handwriting. We use symbolic language to talk to the subconscious, to tell it to start anticipating something. And we use numbers and money as a symbol. Doesn't mean your goal has to be financial, but we use like the money and numbers as a symbol for the subconscious to trigger success stereotypes. And so you start programming yourself, to be making a certain amount of money, and you do this during this what we call the magic 30 minutes before you go to bed. And it starts challenging the information that your life gives you. And the interesting concept is sort of the feeling that somehow we're broken when we're unable to achieve our goals. That you can start to feel broken.
That's a story we start to tell ourselves.
Yes. And in Los Angeles, what a great opportunity to feel broken, because there's such a range of success here. Just when I'm feeling good about myself, some 20-year-old will pull up in a car that costs $250,000, and I'll look at myself in my Jeep and I'll go, what's wrong with me? How have I failed? And how does this happen? Or you get lost and you get into a neighborhood where the houses aren't just $1 million. They're $1 million more than your house. And God forbid you drive down PCH and look at the beach homes in Malibu. They're astronomical. And you go, what is wrong with me?
Because we're comparing.
We're comparing. And it's a little bit like going to the store and buying one of these new, big screen TVs and coming home and setting it up and putting on a comedy. And you watch it, very intently for an hour, and then you pack up the TV and you take it back to the store and you go, I'd like my money back. And they go, well, is it broken? And you go, yes. They go, what's wrong with it? And you go, it's not funny. And they go, what? And they go, yeah, I watched a comedy and I didn't laugh once. What is the manager going to tell you? He's going to say, the TV's fine. You have to change the programming. Okay? And that's how we feel. We feel that something's wrong, that we're not achieving our goals. But the matter of fact is, we are 100% successful at expressing our programming. If you want to know what you're programmed for, it's a very simple process. Look at your life today. The level of financial success, the level of relationship happiness, the career satisfaction. This is what you're programmed to achieve. Now, if you're
so everybody is right now a success.
100%
no matter
successful.
What, no matter how unhappy or happy about it you may be, you have manifested what.
Where you're at now is where your mind wants to be. This is what it's comfortable. We become comfortable in our misery, that we crave a certain amount of chaos and drama and all of this stuff because that is what's known to us. And so there's good news and bad news to this homeostasis concept. And the good news is that once you understand it, there can be an awakening, and there are things you can do to change it. And that once your programming changes, stuff happens to you. Good stuff happens. And like luck. We believe luck is an expression of your subconscious programming. The bad news is you're responsible for everything that happens, good and bad. So if you're having a lot of drama and a lot of bad things and bad luck, this also is an expression of your programming. And you have to say, why do I need this? Why do I want this? Why is this part of my programming? And it's not anyone's fault. Your parents got a life script that they didn't ask for as well. It's just how we're wired. It's part of our DNA and our evolution to function this way.
Okay, so then what do we do about it?
Well,
because we can change this at any age. You can be 9 or 90 and use the mental bank, right?
I think yes. I think the awareness is to have this awakening that we have a subconscious mind, that everything in our lives is a manifestation of an expression of our past history, and that we like to think of it, even in metaphysical terms, that the subconscious mind is a goal machine, and that it sends a signal to the universe, and it tells the universe exactly what to deliver us on a daily basis. Change the signal, and your luck will change as well. So we have tools. And the tools we have are the Mental Bank program, a free seminar. We have hypnotherapists all around the country, and they can get with a professional who will utilize this powerful state that we call the hypnotic state, which is merely just a highly suggestible state. You're fully aware. You're aware of everything. You see everything. It's a little bit like imagining the college professor and doing better at Trivial Pursuit. It seems too good to be true that just being in a suggestible state and imagining and visualizing and feeling some things somehow changes you, but it does. You know, at any point you can open your eyes and walk out of that room, but you don't. And it's shocking. It almost seems like this can't be working. This can't be the reason why
it's too easy.
It's too easy.
It's too simple.
Yeah. And that's, that's one of the things. It's there. It's like a tool that's waiting to be discovered. And in our culture, we like to think that our thinking mind, our verbal mind is everything, and it's not.
So if we're 88% subconscious, that means unaware, and then only 12% conscious. So that makes me feel like, oh, well, that's a drag. But on the other hand, what you're saying is we actually really are responsible for everything subconscious, because all of that programming that happened through our lives, it's actually giving us everything that we are programmed for, that we created, even though we didn't know until this moment, until we became aware of this process.
Yeah, it's an awakening, for sure.
So it's actually a very powerful moment to have the awareness, because then realizing I am completely responsible for this, that means I can shift it.
Right. In other words, what are they listening to this show with? Their conscious mind. And their conscious mind can say, wow, that's new information. I didn't have that before. Here's some places I can go and some things I can do where I can gain control of this. Now the question is, okay, 12% of them says, that's interesting. I might check that mymentalbank.com out, or I might go to hypnosis.edu and see what they have. But will they sabotage? Will they follow through? What reasons will they come up with not following through? These are the areas where we have to become aware that our subconscious mind, no matter how good the goal is, how desirable it is still an unknown. We are going to resist even the things that help us move in the direction we want to move.
And it's also true that we know as therapists that human beings always resist change, even when it's a good change.
Yes, it's homeostasis, the desire to stay the same. And but we're in the change business. That's the business we're in. Right. It is definitely doable. It starts with an awareness of how it works. If you don't know how it works, then you're doomed to fail. If at least you know how it works, then you have a fighting chance to say, oh, I didn't know that before. Let me try something. Let me have an open mind. You know, we tell people when to do the mental bank, don't worry about whether you think it's real or not or works or not. All of that's just,
don't analyze. Just do it.
Just do it, because it's happening on a behavioral level. It doesn't matter what decisions or conclusions you draw consciously. Subconsciously, it's going to work whether you believe in it or not. But you have to do it for it to work. And
if you'd like to call us and ask George Kappas a question, our number is 818-985-5735. We will take your calls the rest of the hour. And again, Success is Not an Accident is the book, actually originally written by your dad.
By my father, yes.
John Kappas.
In the 80s.
In the 80s, and then reissued.
Multiple times.
Yeah. And it details the mental bank concept, which is also available for free, mymentalbank.com.
Mymentalbank.com is a 2-hour streaming video seminar that will explain everything on how to do the mental bank and create that awareness that we're looking for.
That's so exciting. So if somebody's listening, and as you were saying a minute ago, so someone's listening and they're saying, oh yeah, this is it. This is the answer for me. Even though it sounds fabulous and you now have learned about the subconscious and the conscious, and that the subconscious is a much greater percentage, 88% of our mind, and you know all this and you're gung-ho to try it, there's still going to be an automatic mechanism of sabotage we were referencing a second ago. Can you go more into that a little bit?
Yes. Again, it's premise number one. The most powerful force in human behavior is called homeostasis, the innate drive to stay the same. And that we have this unconscious mechanism that doesn't want us to change for the better or the worse. It just wants us to stay the same. So when we start to change or move in a direction that's beyond our script or our existing beliefs or opinions or stereotypes, then we have this resistance. And it's just a remarkable thing how it works, how resistant we can be.
So why is that resistance there? Are we loyal to the family of origin? Are we just loyal because it's familiar? What is that mechanism?
It's not logical at all. It's, again, the subconscious, like a computer, is a binary system. It's just knowns or unknowns. Let me give you a personal example.
Zeros and ones?
Zeros and ones. Personal example that people might relate to. So I remember, when my father first, before the book had even been published, he came up with this concept called the mental bank. And he was using it privately with his clients in his hypnotherapy practice. And a group of them said, we want to share this with all our employees. He had this couple of clients had this big company. It had all these employees. And they asked for a seminar. Okay, so we had this seminar with 2,000 of their employees. And he was going to teach the mental bank as a group. It was the first time I heard it. So I'm there, loyal worker, and I'm handing out, pamphlets.
And it's your dad.
It's my dad, and I'm hearing it for the first time like everybody else. And I think, wow, that's pretty good. I like that, And I was making $16,000 a year working for the family business. And I thought, well, I want to make more money, And so I started doing my mental bank. And I started scripting for $200,000. How I came up with that number, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense if you're making 16 to jump to 200,000, but I wrote that number down. And so I started doing my mental bank every night before I went to bed. Took 5 minutes a night, and I'm scripting 200,000, with all the ways that we do it. And in the process of the months and stuff that go by, I meet a girl, and and I'm a young single guy. I'm living in my El Camino at the time, and she had a house, and she was a little more established. And before I know it, I move in with her, and she had been separated for a year or so, and had been married before, and so I'm living in this house, and this is shocking to some of your listeners, but back then we didn't have personal phones. We didn't have cell phones. There was only one phone in the whole house, and it was actually attached to the wall with a wire.
Yeah, landline we call them, right?
And so if you wanted someone to reach you, that was the only way. And so I started, because I was living there, gave out that phone number. And when it would ring, I thought, well, there's a 50% chance it's for me. I started answering it. So I answer it one day, and it's her husband, who she's separated from for a period of time. And he goes, who are you? I said, well, I'm George. He goes, well, why are you answering her phone? I said, well, I live here. Well, he didn't like that idea. And so he thought, well, they needed to get settle their financial affairs and make it official. And they did. And all this time, I'm writing in my mental bank and scripting every night for this $200,000. And, lo and behold, when all the dust settles, by the time they finish their divorce and their settlement and all this stuff, well, we have one bank account by that time. We are a couple at that point, and we get a check for $200,000, and we deposit it into our account.
I love it.
Now, you would say, wow, that's a great mental bank story, but that's not the story. Okay, that's the setup for the story.
Right,
okay?
right.
So the story is that we get this $200,000, exactly what I programmed for. And, we get married and we move on and we get a different house and time goes on. And at one point, I'm paying the bills a few years later, late at night. And I started realizing that we didn't have enough in our account to cover the bills. And I had to start thinking, well, which ones can we pay now? Which ones we pay later? I'm sure a lot of people played this game. And I said, wait a minute. We have $200,000. Well, we shouldn't have to worry about this. But we didn't have $200,000. It was gone. I don't know where it went. We piddled it away, right? And I started feeling really terrible about it. And I started thinking, I got to get that money back. That was her money. I have a responsibility. And I started making a list of all the things that I was going to do to get that money back. And one of them was, oh, yeah, my mental bank.
You hadn't been doing the mental bank.
I hadn't done it in a long time. So I made this list of things. And on the list was my mental bank. And I go to find my old ledger that I was doing it. And the last day that I did it was the day I deposited that $200,000.
Oh.
So I sabotaged myself.
You did.
And that's an example of subconscious. I didn't make a decision. It just happened.
Wow. With me is George Kappas, K-A, P as in Peter, P as in Peter, A-S as in Sam. You can find him on the internet. That's George Kappas. And he is with Hypnosis Motivation Institute, which is here in Southern California. And we will take your calls after our quick little break at 818-985-5735. It's Intervision for a Tuesday. I'm your host, Nita Vallens, and we are right back after this.
On the weekend of March 28th and 29th, Marianne Williamson presents... On the weekend of March 28th and 29th, Marianne Williamson presents Sister Giant, a conference dedicated to activating our conscience and restoring our democracy. Featured speakers at Sister Giant will include Senator Bernie Sanders, former Congressman Dennis Kucinich, KPFK's own Tom Hartman, Lisa Bloom, Cenk Uygur, Elizabeth Kucinich, and of course, best-selling author and activist Marianne Williamson herself. The Sister Giant Conference will be held at the Concourse Hotel near LAX. To find out more about Sister Giant, go to kpfk.org, click on the Sister Giant image, and if you do so, there's a special deal for KPFK listeners. Just type in the code KPFK when signing up for the conference. Again, that's Marianne Williamson's Sister Giant Conference, activating our conscience and restoring our democracy on the weekend of March 28th and 29th in Los Angeles. KPFK is a proud media sponsor of this event.
818-985-5735 is the number to call if you would like to join our conversation today with George Kappas. George, talk about the resources that you have available for the listeners.
Well, yes, we're a nonprofit, nationally accredited college hypnotherapy, and we have so many free things. It's almost hard to list, and they're on hypnosis.edu, which is our website. And we have free classes here in Los Angeles. We have free classes online, and on hypnosis.edu, you can just go and look for a section on free classes and see all the things that we have. And then we have our own college TV channel, runs 24/7. It's called Hypnosis TV. And you can catch it on the web at hypnosistv.com or at hypnosis.edu. But you can also, if you have a Roku device or an Amazon Fire, Hypnosis TV has a channel there. Or you can just download an app for your iPhone, Android, tablet, iPad called Hypnosis TV. It's a free app. And on there, we do live therapies with clients so you can see what hypnotherapy looks like. We have talk shows, we have guest speakers, we have free classes. And it's just a great way if you're curious about hypnosis, about hypnotherapy, about your subconscious. It's a place to go, Hypnosis TV, and learn all about it. There's no login or membership required. You just watch it for free.
Love that. It's free, listeners. Okay, we are going to go to the phones. 818-985-5735. We have an off-air question. How do you identify your block, or do you just focus on what you want?
Well, I guess the short answer is that we try not to focus on the negative. We want to move towards the positive. The mental bank is a lot more than just focusing on what you want, however. And it's an actual process that combines a number of elements. It's easy to do, but it does take a little learning. And that's why we have the free seminar, mymentalbank.com. But it'll guide you, and it'll help you in setting your goals, in how to use these elements, these synergistic elements that work together to change your subconscious mind. So I know I'm being a little vague, but it is a free seminar, and we want it takes a little while to explain the elements, but it does take 5 minutes a night, and it's fairly simple.
So basically, just to sort of let people know when they go and take the free seminar online, and it's a YouTube video. I mean, very easy. If I could do it, anybody could do it. You really are going to be writing some things down,
right?
And you're going to be making some commitments. But the main commitment is that you're going to do the process. Like right before the break, you were talking, George, that you had been doing the mental bank process, but then when you, a little while later...
When I achieved my goal, I just stopped doing it.
And so the idea is you don't really want to stop. You want to keep going. And if you stop and then you hit a wall, of course you can always restart the process.
Right. And that is a common experience because... we tend to plateau in when we make changes. We rise, we plateau, we rise, we plateau, because we got to get comfortable with this new level of success and make it a known, make it automatic, make it comfortable. And it's all part of the learning about how our subconscious mind works and how we make changes.
It's like when we were younger, we learned to ride a bicycle. Okay, just about everybody learns to ride a bicycle. Okay, then later on, you were saying earlier, so then we drive a car. So that's like a leap, but we got comfortable riding a bicycle. We're going to be comfortable with a car. And then maybe professional drivers, they have to go and learn to drive big trucks and semis and all that. So it's like there's that learning curve that keeps when there's something new.
You could call it muscle memory for success, that we have to develop like a muscle memory for success.
I like that.
Where it becomes automatic.
That's a great metaphor. Okay, let's go back to the phones. Nicole, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. Love your program. George, and I'm so appreciating you, George. Thank you. Very powerful testimony about the 200,000 and then you stopped doing it and it started to dribble away. My question is this. I would like to be able to, and I'm asking you if it's possible, can I trick the system into thinking and believing that which is uncomfortable is comfortable?
Well, okay. I suppose you could use that word. I don't think you're too far off base. I think that you have to, we wouldn't use the word trick. We would say we would modify a belief. And the idea is that the uncomfortableness is just an opinion. And that opinion is a belief. It's not real. And that it's not fixed, and it can be modified.
You mean it's not a feeling? It's like if I'm uncomfortable or afraid, that's not a feeling. It's just an idea.
It's a feeling that's based on an idea. In other words, our beliefs create our feelings.
Right.
A great example is chronic pain, and we did produce a wonderful documentary called Hypnotized, and you can watch it at hypnosis.edu/hypnotized. And it takes two chronic pain patients who were literally debilitated and almost unable to work, and they were on so much medication just to manage their chronic pain that they were at their wits' end. So they came to us, and we followed them for 6 weeks through hypnotherapy sessions, and we, of course, filmed the whole thing. And we do this in the classroom for the students to learn. And at the end of the 6 weeks, they were medication-free and out of pain and back to life. And the whole thing was that their pain was, in this particular instance, not that it always is, but was a manifestation of emotions that they had, of some decisions that had to be made, some emotional conflicts that they had. And people, they think pain is outside of their control. They think it's a separate entity, but it's emotionally based. And emotions are based on beliefs. And when we change the beliefs and we can control the emotions, all of a sudden the pain has a totally different feel to it and purpose. And it's shocking. So when you say uncomfortable, that's a feeling. And feelings emanate from our beliefs, our opinions, our attitudes, and those are changeable things.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your call. Appreciate that. 818-985-5735. With me is George Kappas from Hypnosis Motivation Institute, and it's hypnosis.edu for all the exciting news and free things.
Yep, hypnosis.edu.
Awesome. 818-985-5735. With me is George Kappas in studio today. So exciting to have you with me. I love when we can just look across and have eye contact and be just here together in the studio. It makes for such a great program, and I love having the listeners join us. So Monica in Santa Monica, welcome to the program.
Thank you, and thanks for taking my call. I'm really enjoying this topic today. I especially wanted to call because I'm a fan of George Kappas and the work that he's talking about today about the mental bank.
Have you done the mental bank, Monica?
Yeah, I did. I discovered it in the 80s. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I saw a commercial on TV, and that's why I was interested in getting it, because it just looked phenomenal, because I wasn't making any money at the time. And the main point here is that this works even if you don't believe it works, because I was a stay-at-home mom. I had no income, and I'm thinking, how do I do this, and how do I say, this is the money I want to make, and I'm trying to base it on what I'm making, and I'm making zero to do this. But they explain to you how to calculate the amount of money you want to make, and it was just unbelievable, just taking, a few minutes before I went to sleep at night and doing the exercise that they have you do and writing it down in script and how this actually works. I started looking at the video recently, and the day I was watching it, because I haven't done it in a long time, and I found $20, and I was like, wow, I'm already making some money today. So,
and you didn't even get started yet, right?
Exactly. So my point is just that, even if you don't believe it's going to work, and even if you've had a hard time with money, or you've never made money, or your mindset is that, you're never going to be the lucky one and everybody else has all the luck. If you just do this and just follow the steps, it actually really does work. And so I really like the fact that George said earlier how, you can sabotage yourself and you can override what you know. And so I find myself saying today as I listen and get very motivated about this, hey, I got to do the mental bank again because it's time to start making money and manifesting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimonial, Monica. Appreciate it. Do you want to comment on that?
I appreciate it. I could say it's great and it works, but when you say it, somehow it just seems so much more powerful.
It does. It does. It really does. Appreciate it. 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. So I'm looking in the book originally written by your dad, John Kappas, Kappas, and Dr. John Kappas, and updated by you many times. Success is not an accident. So we talked a little bit about how we resist change and homeostasis, which basically means balance, like we want to just keep things the way they are. But the other thing that happens when we're trying to grow and change is that we hit plateaus. So it's not necessarily like the absolute direct hit resistance to change, but like, for example, maybe weight loss is a good example. So somebody's trying to lose 20 pounds and they quickly lose 6 or 8 pounds. And then days are going by and there's like a plateau. And that's a common thing that happens in weight loss. And that can happen in the mental bank process as well.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a function of almost a muscle memory, a body memory, and we got to get adjusted to a new weight, and we got to make this the known. And once your body locks in on a certain weight, that becomes the known that you keep coming back to, and then you keep working on making that lower and lower. There is on YouTube, if you go George Kappas, Hypnosis and Weight Loss, a free class, where we talk about hypnosis and weight loss and strategies that work and don't work, and that's another free class on YouTube.
So if somebody's trying to do the mental bank on finances, but then they also want to lose weight, is there kind of a crossover?
Sure. I mean, mental bank's just a tool. You can use it for whatever goal, financial, relationships, weight loss. You can use it for a combination of goals at any given time. It teaches you, okay, here's how you pick your goals, and then here's how you use it for each goal. It's still doing it in the 5 minutes, every night. And it could be 100% relationship or 100% sport, however you want to steer it. You're just feeding information into your dreams. There are cultures where what happens to you while you're asleep is the most important part of your day. That's not our culture, but we believe that what happens to you in your sleep is one of the most important parts of your day. And so we're feeding information into the precognitive dreams. They're going to start changing some of these subconscious beliefs, opinions, and stereotypes that guide our decisions.
Let's talk about sleep for a minute. We didn't really cover that because there's sort of like you talk about 2 or 3 different aspects to sleep throughout the night.
We during our sleep period, we go through a variety of REM or dream cycles. We don't dream all night long, and each of those different dream cycles we believe has a sort of a different purpose, and we target different ones for different purposes. And it's that middle of the night dream cycle that we're targeting in terms of predicting your future and anticipating what's coming on. Your programming takes place, we believe, during that middle stage. So we use the mental bank to feed information into that precognitive stage of dreams, that middle night REM activity period, that will sort of start shifting those beliefs and those opinions we have about who we are, what we're worth. And again, as your beliefs shift, the subconscious sends a different signal to the universe, and it seems like stuff happens, like her $20. It just seems like stuff happens, and it seems coincidental, but we believe there's a signal there. And that's where we sort of cross between the science and the metaphysics, in that we do believe that somehow, we don't know how, this subconscious signal that we send affects the universe and brings us different luck.
And then what happens coming out of the third part of sleep in the morning? What is that?
Well, when you change your beliefs, then you have to vent out the old beliefs because of the new ones. So the final stage before you wake up, you're letting go of old beliefs. and you're sort of venting it out or shedding it, if you will, and releasing your attachment to old beliefs that no longer serve you, and they've been replaced with new beliefs, and that we call that the venting stage, and that's the final and third stage. It's the dreams that you're most likely to remember are going to be before you wake up, and those are venting dreams. So if you want to know, what does this venting dream mean? You have a venting dream because you're releasing your attachment to that issue, that feeling. Whatever you're feeling in that dream, whatever the issue is, you're sort of done with it. You're releasing it. You're letting it go. And this is the body's natural process, or the mind, of releasing attachments so we can take that energy and restore it back to us for the next task.
So it's like we're releasing the venting of releasing that, whatever. It could be a person or a concept, an idea, whatever it is. And then we're redirecting that energy
back towards whatever needs our attention next.
I love that. That is amazing. Okay, I want you to be able to go through the resources again for the listener before we totally run out of time here, because we are out of time. Okay, well, George Kappas, thank you.
Hypnosis.edu will sort of direct you everywhere you need to go.
Okay, and then the direct place to the mental bank is mymentalbank.com?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, George Kappas, for being with me today.
Nita. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. Michelle Anton is our executive producer. G is in master control. And in production today, we had Teddy Robinson. Thank you, Teddy. Please stay tuned for Tom Hartman. And remember, we are streaming live on the web at kpfk.org worldwide. If you missed the program, go to the audio archive link to catch up. And the quote I leave you with today is by Michael Jordan when he said, "Limits, like fears, are often an illusion." I'm Nita Vallens. Thanks for listening. To improve your financial destiny? What if you could upgrade your money situation even if it's currently pretty good? Want to trade your cash flow problems for a solid plan that's worked for decades? If you've ever felt like there's got to be a better way, this show will reveal the goods. Welcome to Inner Vision. I'm your host, Nita Vallens, and with me today is George Kappas, who is a licensed marriage family therapist and director of behavioral science centers and its college, the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, which is actually in Tarzana Reseda area of the San Fernando.
How our subconscious mind influences our lives in all areas of our lives, be it our financial success, our relationship success, goals, and we feel that people don't fully understand the role that their subconscious mind plays in their lives. And that's what the mental bank is about. And while it has a money focus, you can use the mental bank as a tool for any goal, weight loss, relationships. It can be steered in any direction. And so it's a free course that we offer, and we're here happy to tell you a little bit about it. But I really would like to start just to help you and everyone understand how in the dark we are about our subconscious minds and the influence it has. You know, that
I'm so glad you started with that, because it's actually, you're going to tell us the percentage of us that's conscious and the percentage of us that's actually subconscious or unconscious.
Yes.
And distinguish all those.
Yes. And I think there's some really great research that illustrates, yet you drove here today, I drove here today, and never once, I bet, did you think about your hands or your feet or the mirrors. You were probably listening to the radio. You were probably maybe talking on the phone. If you were on the 405 freeway, you may have been shooting at people just to get here in time.
How'd you know?
I knew that. And so how did this become automatic? Right? It became automatic through years of repetition. and that it's not just driving that's become automatic for you, for me, for everyone. It's so many things. It's the way we walk. It's the look on our face. It's our posture. It's how we think about money. It's how we think about women, men, success, relationships. All of these things have become automatic. And behavioral experts have estimated that 88% of our day we're engaged in automatic behaviors, things we've done so many times before we stopped thinking about them decades ago.
So all of this is, if we bring in a teeny bit of neuroscience into it, so the frontal lobes in the front of the forehead, literally, where the part...
This and illuminates this idea very clearly, and it can be an awakening for people because, we're all under the impression that that we make all of our decisions consciously, that we're in control, that we have 100% free will. And there's a lot of research that would make us question that. And, the first example is driving a car. And I drove here today. You drove here today.
Yes.
But if you think back, Nita, to the very first day, if you can remember the person who taught you how to drive a car and the first day, the first hour, what a task that was.
Oh, huge.
Right?
I was a nervous wreck.
Because you had to learn to control your foot in a new and novel way. You had to press the pedal just so, and the gas was different than the brake. And God forbid you had one of those stick shift things, because then you got the left foot in, the right foot out,
Yes, yes.
and the little movement, and then you got a mirror on the one side, a mirror on the other side, and your hands have to be 10 and 2. And at the time, the first hour, it's like, how does anyone do this? It's too much to keep track of, right?
Valley. So you're like neighbors.
Yes, we're right here.
That's so awesome. So, and I'm an MFT and a hypnotherapist too, so we're going to have fun today. And so what we're going to talk about is whatever is bothering you. It can be relationship, it can be money, it can be, my life just isn't working. We're going to talk about all of that today. So you have a book called Success is Not an Accident, and it involves something you're teaching us today called the mental bank concept. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, thank you, Nita. Thanks for having me on, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you.
And the backdrop for all of our work is called Hypnosis Motivation Institute, or HMI. HMI is the country's first nationally accredited college of hypnotherapy, and what we do is we specialize in study and the application of subconscious behavior.